A lot of basketball coming up this weekend. NC State at Wake Forest tomorrow. This is the beginning of NC State's postseason. By the way, both Graham and I featured on Pack Therapy, the podcast. You can find that everywhere podcasts can be found. YouTube, all of the podcast platforms. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. Pack Therapy for a deep, deep, deep dive into NC State basketball, their most recent game against Pitt, their next game against Wake, and everything in between and on top of. The way I described it on the pod and the way I'm going to describe it to you is their postseason starts tomorrow. Win, continue, right? Survive in advance for State fans out there. They have to know and they have to understand that any loss could be the nail in the coffin of your NCAA tournament chances. Any loss could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So you have 8 games left. Anything less than 8-0, you're opening yourself up to not having that opportunity.
I wouldn't say you got to play with desperation, because I kind of hate that term in sports, but you got to start playing with some urgency. Like, you got to start, as we mentioned today on the Pat Therapy podcast, you got to start treating it as a one game-by-game basis.
Whatever the emotion is, if it's desperation, if it's urgency, if it's fear of embarrassment, whatever it is to get you playing as hard as you possibly can, which is ironic because they're playing Wake Forest, right? And the last time we saw them play Wake Forest, that was the closest I've seen to them playing desperate or urgent or intense. Like the most high version of those words was the game against Wake Forest. If you recall, Kevin Keats was ejected in the first half. There were multiple technicals called in the game in the last couple of minutes. Ben Middlebrooks was playing with a fire we haven't seen. That is the closest. You might even say they took it too far occasionally, which hey, whoa versus go, right? I'd rather have to rein you in and say whoa than get you started and say go. The Wake Forest game has to be, the previous Wake Forest game has to be the baseline. That's the new normal, and you ramp it up from there. The game against Pitt that you lost, O'Connell, Taylor, Morsell combined for 7 points. I guess you get one of those. Can't have any more. If you're going to play all those minutes, especially O'Connell and Morsell, you got to score the basketball. You can't leave DJ Burns out there on an island as the only legitimate offensive weapon, along with DJ Horn, who's kind of in his own category, as he's obviously an offensive weapon.
You also have to make your free throws. It's like when we come back, or Tim, as a football player, you should know this: blocking and tackling. It's the simple stuff. It's the little details.
It's free throws. It's
rebounding.
You know that NC State's going to protect the basketball. They don't turn it over. It's the best thing they do. But at a certain point, right, it's to stay with your football example. If the best thing you do is run the ball, maybe you got to go hurry up and sling it around the yard, right? Take a chance because you have nothing to lose. NC State right now is out of the NCAA tournament picture. Right? I've said for over a week now, if they won the 3 home games, if they had Miami, they had Georgia Tech, and they had Pitt, if they won all 3, we could talk about where they stood in the NCAA tournament picture, and it would probably be on the outside looking in, but with a path to get back in. But the baseline, the common denominator was they had to win those 3 games. They won 2, they lost to Pitt. I actually think they outplayed Pitt, but the scoreboard says what the scoreboard says. They lost to Pitt. They're on the outside. They are not in the NCAA tournament picture right now. You have nothing to lose. You either win your way out, and you still have games against UNC and Duke. You still have games, a rematch against Pitt. You still have Wake Forest. You still have some wins that are not going to be anywhere near easy. You are going to have to win. I mean, the only way to be comfortable is 8-8. I mean, you have to win 8 of the 8 remaining games. If you drop one to UNC or Duke and it's close, maybe you could get away 7-1. But postseason starts tomorrow.
And to me, this is the portion of the season or the stretch of the season where when your back's against the wall, your veteran players have to step up and show some leadership. You know what you're going to get out of DJ Horn. You might even know what you're going to get out of Jaden Taylor, who's been playing pretty well as of late. Michael O'Connell has looked good in his recent starts for the Wolfpack.
Up until Pitt, I'd say Taylor, O'Connell, and Morsell were getting it done.
But for guys like DJ Burns, Casey Morsell,
DJ Burns is ramping up. It's
played with this team last year. This is their last chance to go out in a blaze of glory, pretty much.
And I mean, we can call a spade here, and this is going to ramp up, if and when they drop their next game. You're playing for your coach a little bit here, right? Kevin Keatts has been there a long time. The expectation for NC State is making it to the NCAA tournament. If you need a rallying point around, it's again, with Graham here, random movie references. You've seen Major League, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen Major League 2?
I don't know.
Have you seen the direct to VHS Major League 3? Major League 3 Back to the Minors? I have. We used to have it on VHS. And Gus Cantrell, who's the main character in Major League 3, which I'm going to explain as in-depth as I need to because I'm sure most of you have not seen the movie. He gives one of my favorite pregame speeches in all of sports movies. There's Herb Brooks, right, in Miracle. You are the greatest hockey team on the face of the earth. There's Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. Life's a game of inches, gentlemen. And then there's Gus Cantrell in Major League 3, Back to the Minors, direct to VHS, where he goes, this is where I'm supposed to tell you to go out there and win for your teammates, but no, I'm asking you to win one for me, right? Because he's out there, he's just got a feud with the other team's manager, and he's going, this ain't about anything but having my back. This is about winning one for me. It's the goofiest, climactic moment in a movie. But Keatts could do that, right? Like, hey, guys, listen. Win this one. Win these next 8 for me. Win these next 8 for me. And it might just work. You have nothing to lose. You have to beat Wake Forest. And, oh, by the way, Wake Forest is playing really, really well. They've been mopping the floor with teams recently. It doesn't get easier. Yeah,
they've won They're 3-2 in their last 5 games, coming off 2 wins where they've blown out their opponents by at least 20 points.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing as well as they've played. Granted, they do tend to fluctuate pretty aggressively, so you might catch them on a bad day.
You also know they haven't forgotten about what happened in PNC Arena.
Which is why as I've said many, many times, in a fight, who wins? The one that wants to be in the fight the most. You better want to be in the fight the most.